Ron. Appreciate it. Thanks everybody for sticking around. Good morning, and thank you very much. And nice to meet you. I'm Renatto Garro. I'm based out of Miami, and my role with Google Cloud is as CTO for corporate accounts and digital natives. So today I want to cover an overview of the Google AI platform and what we have available for you guys as far as kind of like how enterprises are innovating with AI. I think a lot of the hyperscalers kind of like have similar methodologies and frameworks, and you'll see that across the board, like there is, I think, a level of standardization which is great for the industry because customers have the choice to pick the hyperscaler that they want to align with. So feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. So this is the QR code for my LinkedIn. We're always hosting events in Miami and online as well. So yeah, if you're interested, I think there's something coming up in a few weeks. So if you connect with me, I'll be sure to send you an invite for we're hosting like a nice dinner in Miami. So yeah, sync up with me a little bit on my background. I've been in technology for over 16 years. I started in cloud computing really when it was just starting actually. At the time, it was like just basically mainly focused on productivity. Originally with Microsoft, when before Office 365 existed actually, and then I got started working for kind of like consulting companies, and then I moved on to work for Microsoft for 9 years. I also worked for NetApp in Raleigh, and then now I'm with Google for the last basically 2 years. I'm certified in the three cloud providers as a cloud architect in Microsoft Azure, AWS, and Google Cloud. So yeah, my background has been heavily in cloud computing since the beginning of cloud, and then on blockchain and of course AI for the past basically 3 years, close to 3 years, like heavily in, let's say, in AI. When I was at Microsoft, I helped to launch the Azure OpenAI service for over 33 countries. And yeah, with Google, I've been working heavily with Gemini and the other models we're working on. So that's a little bit on me. So yeah, as you see, right, like the enterprise readiness is at the core of the approach that Google takes when it comes to generative AI. We are basically focusing on how can we enable enterprises to leverage AI to innovate on their businesses. And that's the approach that Google takes, as you may recall, right? Like Google has been famous for incubating products from its own employees. We have the mantra of thinking about 10x, which is like always try to think big so that you can reach your goals, basically, and a culture of innovation that can drive innovation within the organization. And we believe that AI is one of the biggest enablers for innovation in the new era that we're facing. So we have many customers that use Google Cloud, and of course, when it comes to AI, more than 95% of the startups in the world use Google Cloud when it comes to AI. So yeah, it's very heavily adopted. Google is one of the leaders, and when it comes to foundational models and at the frontier of the development of AI. And a lot of people don't know, but back in 2017, Google released a white paper called "Attention is All You Need," which you can download if you Google it. And basically, that's the original architecture that is the foundation for what we now call the large language models, including ChatGPT or OpenAI, or GPT-4, GPT-3, and all the newer models, Llama, and so on. So Google really was the originator of the architecture that is being used today, and is still being innovating throughout the years. Just like towards the end of last year, a few Google employees and ex-employees won two Nobel Prizes for the innovation on AI when it comes to drug design, biotech, and physics. So yeah, there is a heavy usage of AI, and then innovation is at the core of that. So, kind of like four key enterprise readiness questions that our customers are asking themselves is that data is really your differentiator when it comes to AI, because you are the only one that has access to your data, ideally, right? And this data that you've been collecting for all these years, Maybe it could be, in multiple places. Hopefully, you guys are at the point where the data has been consolidated. You have a data lake, data warehouse, and the ability to tap into the enterprise data in real time. But if it's not the case, there is a process for you to get there. And that data that you have at your disposal from your internal users, external users, partners, that is what is going to make you kind of like a differentiated company when it comes to other companies. AI can be everywhere in the organization. Gartner talks about everyday AI and game changing AI. So when you think about everyday AI, which is what everybody can do, like, when it comes to like everyday AI, it could be like back office AI, front office AI. So the front office AI can be, think about like chatbots and front customer agents. Back office AI, thinking about like agents that can help you be more productive. For example, like in Google Workspace, we have Gemini, right? So they can help you draft emails, develop presentations, create formulas on sheets, and do also kind of like automation when it comes to your day-to-day workflow. And that's embedded in the productivity platforms by default. So that gives you an edge as a just knowledge worker to be more effective at what you do. But then you have the game changing AI, which is like, how can you tap into AI that is core to your business? And that is going to give you sustainable competitive advantage compared to like what everybody's going to do as far as implementing everyday AI. And which means basically you go to one of the big providers, just buy some technology, implement it for your company. Everybody can do that, right? If you have the money to do it. But not everybody can tap into their company's data and develop AI that is specific to their core business, that can add new revenue streams or reduce the way you, for example, like run your organization and make yourself more efficient. So that's really where you want to be. And a lot of companies are focusing on everyday AI, and we're trying to help them through this innovation journey with AI to transition into game changing AI, which is really what will drive the organization forward. And then, of course, you want to be cost effective, resilient, and sustainable when it comes to the usage of AI, and have the mentality of being having available the use of safe AI, so that you have the alignment to your compliance requirements and the data privacy and security that the organization is going to align to. So those are key for enterprise questions that customers ask. And how does Google Cloud address those concerns? So first, with data governance, indemnity and privacy, security, compliance and support, reliability and sustainability, and of course, responsible AI. So thankfully, I think all the hyperscalers are really have this responsible AI mantra, which is great for the industry, and all the I think that some of the or most of the open source providers are thinking about it that way as well. But there are some exceptions when it comes to that, and I think that's where you really want to double click on, is like, who is really providing this responsible AI in a way that aligns to my organization. So going back to the point of my data as my differentiator, that is at the core, right? Which is going to give you the secret sauce that nobody else in the industry ideally will have. And if you have differentiated data, it makes you unique in the landscape of AI. But you want to make sure that you have a data governance, and then have the ability to use AI that can indemnify you and provide you the right privacy protections for that. So when it comes to Google, of course, you control your data. It's when you deploy your models in Google Cloud, it's your own environment, your own data. We don't train the models with your data or the way you train your models. So we have a specific cloud data processing addendum that specifies our terms and conditions when it comes to that. We align to the large compliance requirements, including GDPR and others you're going to see worldwide. And then we have extensive security and governance controls embedded in the platform by default. And by default, the platform gives you best practices from the get-go. So then the customer doesn't have to think about kind of like security from the start. You can basically go into Google Cloud and have the security mindset from the get-go, and then customize it as you move along to align to how flexible you want the models to be. So Google processes the prompts to provide the service itself. We don't use the prompting to be able to retrain our models, whether for consumer use or otherwise. And we don't use the data, like I mentioned, for other purposes other than providing the specific service you're hiring Google to do. So when it comes to model tuning, customers can leverage our Vertex AI platform to be able to do model tuning. Vertex AI is the platform where customers can leverage the foundational models that Google has developed, including Gemini 2.0, 2.0 Flash, 1.5, and the other models that generate images, Imagen, and other models that we're releasing on the market. So you can use the Google models, but of course you can use open source models. And I think everybody has seen DeepSeek on the news probably, and all the craziness that's going around it. So yeah, we actually have a connector to Hugging Face, and then we are able to deploy. Are soon going to be able to deploy a DeepSeek into the Google Cloud Platform. So then Google has always been an open source company. Google has been releasing open source technology on the market for many years, including Kubernetes and other platforms that are being used today to be able to deploy AI models. So that gives the security that Google is always deploying on open source technologies, and then it gives you this kind of like ability to have portability of your platforms. Because even if you are with Google Cloud, as long as you're running open source technologies, you can move the platform environments if you want to. So that's very important. And then when it comes to the data is secure at every step on the model tuning. You can adapt the weights, and those are stored securely. You can make sure that you want to, like for example, when it comes to the data is not logged by the foundational models by default. You can customize all the training when it comes to model tuning. So it gives you a lot of flexibility and control over how you want to do that. You can integrate the model into other platforms, and you're going to see how we do that. When it comes to indemnity, we protect the customers so that, for example, when it comes to copyrights, we will assume the responsibility for potential risk involved with output that is generated by the model by default. For example, if there is one of our models generates copyrighted protected information in some way, of course, right? There is a shared responsibility model where if you're forcing the model to generate, let's say, copyrighted material by referencing something on the web, or you're ingesting copyrighted material on the prompt, this is basically your responsibility, because you're kind of like jailbreaking the model to do something it's not supposed to do. By default, the models don't do that because they haven't been trained on copyrighted information. That's why we're able to provide this and assume the responsibility when it comes to copyrighted information. So it's important to know, right? Because yeah, I mean, some customers may want to ask the question of what happens if I use a picture from, I don't know, Mickey Mouse, and put it on Imagen, and then want to modify it, right? So then Imagen has these layers of protection when it comes to safety, and then basically the image is not going to be regenerated if you're using some copyrighted information. So that's just give you an idea. And when it comes to the IP protection, Google uses data governance. So we have built-in protections that applies to how you train your models, and we have terms of service to protect against IP claims and copyrights. So when it comes to IP protection and copyrights, Google has a strong protections there. So we have privacy commitments, certifications when it comes to compliance, processing of the data, and usage of AI. Like I mentioned, privacy by design and default, and that gives you kind of peace of mind that when you come to Google, you don't have to rethink a lot of the privacy and security. The AI tools are to improve the privacy of the end user and are open source, and the transparency are there because we have a data protection impact assessment, and we document that and release that so that you can see what are the procedures we go by when it comes to providing the services to the end customers. So when it comes to the next phase, which is I want to be an AI everywhere organization, and going back to my example of everyday AI and game changing AI, definitely you have to also balance that with security and compliance. So we have the nascent kind of like trend of shadow AI, which is basically end users using AI without the consent from the organization, IT department, or security department. And then this is creating a lot of problems, of course, because users may leak information to let's say open models, for example, open source models, or maybe proprietary models that are consumer based models by default. um, don't give you like that protection where the information may be hijacked by somebody else or can be leaked. So then organizations are putting themselves at risk if they're not able to see kind of like what is the AI usage in the organization. So that is very important. So when it comes to security by design, we implement multiple layers of encryption, comprehensive security, rigorous controls when it comes to the supply chain that we use to bring the different chips and components of the data center. And then we do extensive testing, red teaming, threat analysis on any models that we provide through Vertex AI. When it comes to security by default, we continuously update security defaults to match the industry standards. We have security blueprints from the different security standard organizations. And then, of course, the data is encrypted at rest by default. When it comes to the deployment, we have the tools to provide continuous assurance to customers that the models and the data and security environments around it, including who can access the data, who can access the model, who can make changes to the model, and so on, are always aligned to security best practices. So when it comes to our infrastructure, you may know Google has been at the leading of developing custom AI infrastructure. So Google, for example, has this Google AI Fabric, which has been developed from the ground up to be able to serve AI models. Is the cloud that's been specifically designed to run AI from the get-go. Google is one of the developers of TPUs, which is, for example, actually used by Anthropic to be able to train their model as well. So we use a combination of GPUs and TPUs depending on the use cases, and that is at the cutting edge of the hardware innovations that Google can bring to the table, including the backbone network that Google has because of Google's large kind of like consumer-based applications, including YouTube, Gmail, Maps, and ads, and so on. Like we have this backbone network that we can provide kind of like direct connectivity to end users and enterprises. Google is one of the most reliable cloud providers on today. So if there's different independent analysis that you can research, but you'll see that actually compared to other cloud providers, is very resilient cloud provider. So even to the point where customers deploy their applications and they don't need to have like high availability, even though it's best practices and we recommend it. It's so robust that you don't have to have it. Some customers choose not to have it, let's say, but you do have to have it, and then that gives you just a kind of like a sense of how much trust they have in the cloud provider, so that they implement services that way. So just a couple points there, right? So by default, we do vulnerability scans. Of course, antivirus are deployed on the platforms, and then we do incident management 24 hours a day, 365. So then you can always rely on a support team that can provide end-to-end support when it comes to any issues that may arise. Not only with your AI infrastructure, but with the overall infrastructure, because AI is not decoupled from data and then the other enterprise applications. So you want to, a lot of customers are like, hey, let me just use the Google Gemini API, and then yes, that's great, but then what you want to do is really start bringing your data into Google Cloud so that you have the whole stack in the same place to be able to make the process more efficient. So by default, we have VPC security controls to isolate the traffic and the networks, and how you can have your own encryption keys and access transparency. And like I mentioned, we have this platform, which is the Google Cloud Perimeter in the Google Cloud, that gives you access to your own dedicated Vertex AI model builder to build your own models, whether custom models, open source models, or you want to use one of our models and do fine tuning, distillation, or you want to integrate that. on-premises or cloud data sources or other cloud provider data sources. You can do that through our RAG architecture, Graph RAG, which is using graph databases integrated on a RAG architecture, as I mentioned before by other presenters. And of course, connect that to your data that's unstructured, maybe files, images, videos, and other content that may be real-time data as well. So it gives you that power to be able to connect all of the data sources that you have at your disposal to be able to feed the model in real time because of the ability of Gemini to be one of the most performant models on the market as far as like response time. You are able to provide kind of like this kind of like very quick access to responses for end users. A lot of people are talking to about DeepSeek and it's so fast and so on. According to benchmarks, by the way, it's not faster than the leading foundational models. Only is faster than, for example, like Llama. When it comes to foundational models, it's not more efficient than the top foundational models as well. So there's a lot of misconceptions about DeepSeek today, and by the way, and so I encourage you guys to really try the models, implement it in your own use cases, and then you'll see the outcomes of that. When it comes to compliance, we support multiple compliance requirements across different regions, and including ISO 27001, which is cloud, kind of like top cloud compliance requirement, HIPAA, FINRA, um, FIPS, FedRAMP for NIST, and so on, right? So then there's many compliance requirements, GDPR, of course, in Europe and so on. So then there's a lot of opportunities there for companies to leverage the compliance requirements that Google has obtained to be able to deploy your own infrastructure and AI models in Google Cloud. So if you going back to the next one, which is I want to scale up to meet the moment, which is like organizations are moving fast in AI, and I don't want to be left behind. I want to innovate and I want to lead in my industry. Um, Infrastructure reliability and sustainability is at the core of that when it comes to when you choose your cloud provider. So as I mentioned, the Google AI Fabric includes our custom TPUs, and then the GPUs by NVIDIA that we're always going with the top of the line GPU models that are available today. So we're going, of course, with Blackwell and other models and other GPUs available on the Google Cloud as well. So this allows you to have the latest and the greatest, whether from Google specifically or NVIDIA or Intel and other providers. So we have many regions around the globe, and I think the key one here is that the backbone that Google has, because we don't use third-party providers when it comes to the core backbone network that we use. It's run by Google, operated by Google, and we're basically at the I think at the cutting edge when it comes to network design and speed and reliability, which is the most important thing. So when you use Google Cloud, I think you'll have peace of mind that the cloud is very resilient. And just think about when was the last time your Gmail went down or Google Maps went down, right? So uh, that gives you an idea of like how resilient the Google Cloud is, because everything runs on Google Cloud when it comes to Google services. So of course, we have highly recommended to run in a highly available environment. We have multiple zones available for different requirements, and data centers operate as primary sites. So you can have your primary site, secondary site, availability zones, and multiple zones in Google Cloud. And that gives you the ability to set up your business continuity and disaster recovery as you wish. So that gives you that power. When it comes to green and investments on green AI, Google has been at the forefront of basically being 24/7 carbon-free energy everywhere by 2030. We have been at the leading when it comes to net zero emissions and water consumption. Our data centers are sustainable by design and renewable by design. So you can read more about this if you look for Google Cloud Green AI and get more information on it. But basically, our data centers are more efficient than other data centers around the world, so that gives you also the peace of mind that when you're using AI, which requires a lot of resources, Google is doing a lot of investments to be able to provide a renewable and green, sustainable AI infrastructure. And the last one, and which is I need to be more effective and responsible and safe. Google has a responsible AI, and also we have a safe AI framework, which you can Google safe AI framework, and I will include the link later on the chat, which gives you step by step process to implement responsible AI. So Google has our own AI principles. So number one, be social and being efficient when it comes to the design and the development of AI. Avoid creating, reinforcing unfair bias. Build for safety. Be accountable to people and society, and incorporate privacy in design and uphold to standards and scientific excellence and be made available to users. So Google has this mantra of like built for the user, right? So then when it comes to that, like we try to make sure that the models are really useful to the end users. We will not pursue to create harm or create direct injury or violate surveillance standards and go against international law and human rights. So when we come to releasing products in Google Cloud, we always go through these AI principles when it comes to AI products. And yeah, that kind of gives you a peace of mind that the the provider, in this case, Google, is going through a responsible process to release AI products and services. So when it comes to use cases in education, we provide customers with recommendations and leadership to navigate responsible AI through the Safe AI framework documentation. We have courses online as well. So if you Google Google Cloud responsible AI, there's a course on responsible AI. We provide tooling to be able to analyze, compare models, compare the security and safety of prompting, to be able to measure the potential exposure of data when you use models in your own enterprise use cases. All those tool sets are available open source. So Google has made the tools that we use internally to develop the models, we made it available open source. So definitely, if you want to check those out, you can always message me and we're happy to give you more info on that. But if you go to the Safe AI framework, you'll find all the links there on that document. Um, when it comes to responsible AI, so we identify potential harms on new models, identify the risk levels, and then develop mitigation plans. And then we proceed to implement those mitigation plans or kind of like remediation plans to the models. So it's always best to educate your teams on responsible AI and have the frameworks implemented across your enterprise organization when it comes to the use of the data, models, and shadow AI, so that you are protected end to end and prevent data leakage, maybe information tampering, hijacking, and exposing enterprise data that you don't want out there on the wild. So that's why when it comes to our responsible AI tooling and enablement and support, we have the foundational models that are pre-trained, saved, and you can fine tune them. You can augment the models using your own data, and you can have different grounding, fine tuning, or you can use RAG to be able to prevent the model from not using data that is outside of your organization, and then have these layers of protection when it comes to safety and responsible AI when you implement those use cases, so that you can guardrail the model. Um, it also recommended to look at the data that you're using to feed the model, right? Because you want to make sure that you have the right data. So when it comes to the different tooling that available, so I would encourage you that you look at the Safe AI framework, and then you'll find different tools for content moderation and safety, citations and explainability, bias, customization, and evaluation and monitoring of the models. So, for example, this is one that allows you to identify the content safety for first party and open source foundation models. So, it just gives you an idea of kind of like if you're running, for example, like an API call to some data set, it can rate the, the level of misalignment with your corporate, let's say, attributes. and then you can filter those outputs to not be fed to the users, for example. Right. So we also integrate citations tooling so you can see the lineage of information when you deploy the models, and then you can, so for example, like remove and add filters and change the way the model behaves as well. So that all that can be changed on the Vertex AI platform, so that you can see if you want to make sure that the model is kind of like, let's say, more safe, alignment of your corporate standards, or just remove all safety, and then just maybe you want to experiment on some use cases, and that's fine too. So we also implement digital watermarking when it comes to images from Imagen. So then, for example, that like creating images that can be roaming on the internet, and then of course you saw the copyright protection. So, in summary, the integrated platform with options to deploy Google foundational models, open source models, and a unified platform, no code, low code. You don't have to be a data scientist to deploy these models in Google Cloud. We have a lot of like out of the box tools and agents that you can deploy today, including the recent launch of Agent Space that is more to automate your day to day workflow using different tools. And then of course, in Google Gemini for Workspace, so you can be more productive on your day to day. Gemini for Google, you can understand and how to do best practices when you deploy Google Cloud, and AI agents for deployment of AI agents for customer service, support, finance, operations, marketing, and so on. There's a one really cool one, which is marketing AI, which automates the whole process of generating content for marketing, newsletters, images, and deploys that automatically using Gemini and Imagen. So all this code, by the way, open source. So when we create solutions, we always release the solutions open source. So that's the beauty of Google, is that we always make the innovation open source. You can connect to databases on-prem, in the cloud, other cloud providers. You can use BigQuery, which is a leading analytics platform on the market, to be able to analyze the data. And now, by the way, BigQuery has generative AI embedded. So you don't need to be a SQL developer anymore. You can just type your question on real on natural language, and then BigQuery will translate that into SQL query and then feed you the data. We have a platform called Looker, which is similar to Power BI or Tableau, which allows you to create visualizations in real time on the web, or it can be embedded on an application or a mobile site, mobile application. Looker also has generative analytics. Basically, you can create reports on the fly without being an analytics guru. It'll just develop all the dashboards automatically just from a simple natural language query. So very powerful. And then, of course, the infrastructure that I mentioned, the AI hypercomputer or the Google AI Fabric with the TPUs and GPUs. So I encourage you to try our Gen AI foundation models and APIs, and integrate AI with analytics and big data using BigQuery, and then build your own AI agents so that you can automate customer engagement, support, finance, operations, marketing, and then of course be more efficient at code with Gemini Code Assist, which can give you higher productivity, up to 40% higher productivity, and developing new applications with Gemini. So at the core, open source to avoid lock-in from any cloud provider, which is the foundation mantra of Google Cloud, and then trying Gemini 2.0 Flash. I'm going to show as a last thing a demo of the recently released Gemini Live API, which is basically a multi-model, 2 million parameter model that can handle video, text, images, and voice at the same time in real time, which is incredible. You'll see kind of like on the demo how it operates, and I think this is very powerful for the next generation of applications and interaction. So let me stop sharing. I'll share again with the voice, and hopefully you'll see the video. So,
Okay, this is a quick demo of multimodal live streaming in Gemini 2.0. and we are casting a tab into AI Studio. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I see your screen. It's showing a document with the title Demo. It also contains bullet points and a Google Meet window with a person in the video. Is there anything in particular you would like to talk about on the screen?
Yeah, can you start the demo by just reading the text I highlighted?
Sure, I can do that. The text you highlighted reads, "The Multimodal Live API lets you build real-time multimodal applications powered by Gemini 2.0 Flash. It features tool use like Google Search and code execution, function calling, and more." Would you like me to read the following lines too?
No, can you actually just tell me what this word means, though?
I can do that. Multimodal refers to the ability to process and understand different types of data, like text, images, and audio all together. Does that help?
Yeah, I need to demo the interruptions feature next. Can you tell me a really boring kind of once upon a time sort of story?
Okay, I can do that. Once upon a time, in a small village nestled beside a quiet forest, there was a very unremarkable rock. This rock was gray and it was
Oh,
round, and it sat
sorry, I
there.
have to interrupt you.
No problem. I understand that interruptions are part of the demo. What should I do now?
So we're going to demo memory. Can you just summarize everything we've seen or heard so far?
I can do that. So far, we've discussed a demo of the Multimodal Live API, which lets you build real-time multimodal apps, and I defined what multimodal means. I was also asked to tell a very boring once upon a time story, but I was interrupted. Is there anything else?
No, I think we're done. Do you want to read this ending card or should I?
I can read it if you would like. The ending card says, "Start building with Gemini."
So as you see, guys, and Spring, I don't know if you noticed, but when you come to the end of the demo, um, the model has memory, right? So it remembers everything you were speaking to the model about, like including, as you see, like in real time. This is going over the internet and WebSockets to the Gemini AI cloud, and responding in real time. It's sending not only the text and the voice, it's also sending the image of the computer. And we have a project that is on kind of like let's say in development, that's called Mariner, which is a project that integrates into Google Chrome to be able to execute tasks on the computer. So then, I'm not gonna say anything, but you could see the connection between Project Mariner and Project Astra, where those two could be connected, and you can have an agent that can execute tasks on your computer, and you can basically navigate with it in real time. So hopefully that will happen. I'm not sure if it will, but I'm looking forward to that. Um, so just to wrap up on the four key principles, I think your data is a differentiator when it comes to your organization. You should use AI everywhere, but focus on game-changing AI use cases. Leverage the best AI infrastructure on the planet with Google Cloud, and always build on responsible AI. Google is the one platform that allows you to have a mentality of open source, avoid lock-in, with data governance, security, reliability, and sustainability, and of course, responsible AI. So thank you very much for the attention, and yeah, looking forward to hearing from all you sometime in the future. And I don't know if Ron, there's any questions.